We are doing a deep dive today on, well, the philosopher who really defines Western thought, Socrates.
Hmm.
And it's an exploration of this spectacular paradox. You have a man so dedicated to truth that he becomes the ultimate sage.
Right.
Yet that same dedication leads him directly to being condemned and executed by his own city.
It's the ultimate irony, isn't it? I mean, he's probably the most famous name in philosophy.
Absolutely.
His influence spans, what, 2 millennia? And yet, he refused to write a single thing down. Everything we have comes through his students, mainly Plato and Xenophon.
So our mission today is really to get past that abstract idea of virtue is knowledge.
Exactly. And to understand the raw, complicated man behind the legend.
Yes, we're pulling out the key nuggets from the sources to see the whole Socrates. The ugly, barefoot soldier who stood up to tyrants.
The relentless questioner who drove people in Athens absolutely mad.
And the citizen who chose death over breaking a city's laws.
We're looking at the man who was wise for one reason, and one reason only. Because he claimed he knew nothing.
So let's start with what he was actually like, his physical presence. Because when you imagine the father of philosophy, you probably picture someone majestic.
Right.
Socrates was, not that.
Not at all. The sources make him sound less like a sage and more like, a character out of a Greek comedy.
He was short, had a bumpy forehead, high cheekbones, thick lips.
And that famous snub nose. Yeah. He was often compared to the grotesque masks they used in the theater. And this wasn't just his looks, it was his whole lifestyle.
He came from simple origins.
Yeah.
His father was a stonemason, his mother a midwife, and he just lived this completely ascetic life.
Always barefoot. Always in the same old tunic.
There's that great little detail in the sources about his friend Aristodemus being just shocked to see Socrates dressed up for a feast.
And dressed up meant what?
He put on sandals. That was it.
And that detachment from vanity, from material things, was so central to his philosophy, he was teaching it by example. But his greatest contribution, the thing that both educated and frankly irritated Athens,
Was his method.
was his method, dialectic.
His Socratic method. It was all about finding truth by setting up this relentless series of leading questions.
Right. He'd draw you into what seemed like a friendly, intimate conversation.
And then through this intense back and forth, he would just strip away every assumption you had.
It was a kind of intellectual self-defense he was forcing on people. Whether you were a general or a politician, he would make you confront your own lack of understanding about big concepts.
Justice or friendship or courage.
Exactly. He wasn't giving you answers. He was forcing self-knowledge because he believed that virtue and wisdom were basically the same thing.
So he used this metaphor for his technique, right? Maieudics, or midwifery, which he got from his mother's job.
Precisely. He saw himself as helping to deliver the truth that was already inside a person.
A spiritual birth of an idea.
He wasn't injecting knowledge into them, he was pulling it out.
Which brings us to the real pivot point of his life. The moment that set him on this grand destiny. I'm talking about the Delphic Oracle.
This is what changed everything for him around age 40. His friend Sheriphon goes to the oracle of Apollo and gets this legendary response.
That no man was wiser than Socrates.
And here's the paradox, right? The man whose whole thing is, I know that I know nothing,
is suddenly declared the wisest man alive. How did he even process that?
Well, at first, he didn't believe it. He took it as a kind of riddle, a challenge. He spent years going around and interviewing Athens' so-called wise men, generals, poets, politicians.
And what did he find?
He found they all claimed to know things they really didn't. And he realized he was wiser only because he alone was aware of his own ignorance.
So that became his divine mission.
It did, to teach citizens true knowledge, driven by this belief that there's only one good knowledge and only one evil ignorance.
It's such a powerful idea. And the sources show just how curious he was even before that moment. I mean, he had this surprisingly wide-ranging education.
Oh, absolutely. He studied argument with the sophist Prodicus. He learned rhetoric from Aspasia, Pericles' wife, who he joked almost hit him for being forgetful.
He had a really holistic view of learning, it seems, from music to math and astronomy.
It showed he valued wisdom wherever he could find it.
I think the most striking name on that list of influences is the priestess Diotima.
Yes.
Our sources say she was so brilliant, so logical, that she was credited with delaying a plague in Athens by 10 years.
It just proves he didn't care about your gender or your social status. If you had wisdom, he would listen.
Now, if you needed proof that Socrates wasn't just some eccentric guy talking on street corners, all you have to do is look at his military record.
Right. He was an unwavering citizen and soldier during the Peloponnesian War.
It's a bit of a shock, isn't it? This philosophical gadfly was also a legitimate tough guy. He fought in 3 huge campaigns: Potidaea, Delium, and Amphipolis.
And he wasn't just there. He was decorated for bravery. There's that amazing story from Potidaea that connects his physical toughness to his mental self-control.
The Encratia.
Exactly. He stood completely motionless, just lost in thought for an entire day and night. The troops around him were just astonished.
And he saved Alcibiades' life in that battle.
He did. Incredible courage. But he also applied that same moral courage to politics. He spent his life criticizing Athenian democracy's flaws. But when the law itself was threatened, he was its greatest defender.
That's the key contradiction. And we see it play out twice, both times at huge personal risk. First, there's the Arginusae trial in 406 BC.
A naval victory, but a storm prevented the generals from rescuing survivors and burying the dead. The public was furious.
And the authorities wanted to hold an illegal mass vote to condemn all 6 generals at once.
And Socrates, who was serving as head of the council for that one day,
The epistates.
he was the only person who refused to put the illegal motion to a vote. He was ready to face death rather than see the law violated out of public anger.
He stood against the entire assembly. Then, just 2 years later, under the 30 tyrants, he did it again.
The oligarchs ordered him and 4 other men to illegally arrest Leon of Salamis so they could seize his property.
And he just went home.
He just went home. He refused the command, risking immediate execution. He proved his loyalty was to the laws of the city, not to any particular government, democratic or not.
So if his public life was this model of integrity, his domestic life sounds a little more chaotic.
A little, yeah. His marriage to Xanthippe is infamous, mostly because of her temperament.
She was famously nagging and quarrelsome.
She was, and we have that classic story where after she's just finished scolding him, she dumps a bucket of water on his head.
And his reaction is just perfect. He shrugs and says, "I said it, first thunder, then rain."
Total self-control. He could process it like a weather event.
Alcibiades apparently felt sorry for him for having to listen to her all the time.
Right, but Socrates defended it. He said she was essential practice for his self-mastery. If he could control his temper with Xanthippe, he could handle anyone.
He even gave us that classic piece of advice on the subject. Whether you marry or not, you will regret it.
All of this, the questioning, the political defiance, it all finally came to a head in 399 BC. This wasn't really a trial about philosophy. It was about politics, religious anxiety, and pure resentment.
And the main force behind it wasn't even the formal accuser, the poet Meletus.
No, the sources point to Aeneas, a wealthy, powerful leather worker. Aeneas really saw Socrates as a destructive force, someone who undermined the traditional Athenian way of life.
So what were the official charges?
2 things. First, impiety, not believing in the city's gods and introducing new ones. That was a reference to his daemon, his internal guiding voice.
And the second?
Corrupting the youth. Basically teaching young men to question their elders and traditional authority.
The trial was held in the Heliaea, this huge court of 501 jurors chosen by lot. So you're talking about a real cross-section of Athens, potters, merchants, soldiers.
And they were about to judge the city's wisest man. Socrates, of course, refused to hire a professional speechwriter.
The famous order Lysis offered, right?
He did. But Socrates chose to defend himself in his own style, his dialectics, which was just completely wrong for a big courtroom with a water clock ticking down.
He refused to flatter them. He wouldn't beg. He argued he was fighting shadows, these old rumors that had been around for 20 years.
And he made it clear he would not stop his mission of educating citizens no matter what they decided.
That stubbornness led to a shocking verdict.
It was incredibly close. The first vote was 280 for guilty, 221 against. He only needed 30 votes to flip to be acquitted.
So he gets his chance to propose an alternative punishment. This is where he could have saved himself.
But he didn't. He did the opposite. He doubled down.
With that signature irony.
He proposed that, as a public benefactor who improved the souls of his fellow citizens, he deserved a lifetime of free meals at the Prytaneum.
A reward usually given to Olympic champions.
It was a massive insult to the jury.
He eventually offered a small fine, which his friends like Plato and Crito immediately offered to raise to 30 minae, but the damage was done.
It was too late. They were so offended by his arrogance, his refusal to show any humility, that in the final vote on the sentence,
They condemned him to death.
with 80 more votes for the death penalty than had even found him guilty in the first place, his arrogance sealed his fate.
So Socrates spent about a month in prison waiting for the execution. And during that time, his friend Crito came to him, begging him to escape.
Crito had it all arranged. Bribes were paid. A safe haven in Thessaly was ready.
But Socrates refused. Why? I mean, the ruling was so clearly unjust.
Because of the social contract. He argued he couldn't repay evil with evil. He couldn't just violate the laws of the city that had raised him, that had given him everything.
To flee would be to invalidate his entire life's philosophy.
Exactly. His death was the ultimate proof of his commitment to justice. He had to follow the laws even when they turned against him.
And he faced death with this incredible calm. What was his view on what was about to happen?
He said death was a blessing either way. If it was just nothingness, then all his pain would end. And if the afterlife was real,
He'd get to meet all the heroes and sages of the past.
and continue his mission, he could finally go and question them to find out who was really wise.
So when the time came, he calmly drank the hemlock.
He did. He actually got upset with his friends, like Apollodorus, who were weeping. He told them death should be met with reverent silence. And his last words.
Almost cryptic, spoken to Crito.
Crito, we owe Asclepius a cock. Pay it and do not forget.
Asclepius, the god of healing, what was he saying with that?
He was treating death as a cure, a liberation. The body, with all its pains, was finally being healed, and his soul was being set free. He was thanking the god of medicine for his own death.
The ultimate final act of self-mastery. And while there's a legend that his accusers all met miserable ends,
A story Athens probably told itself later to deal with its guilt.
Socrates had already won. His death made him a martyr for truth.
It did. His life and death gave us a framework for ethical living, that you uphold knowledge and justice no matter the cost.
And he actually predicted it. He said his death wouldn't stop the criticism. It would just bring new, younger, more effective critics against Athens' injustice. So what does it say about a society when the only way to prove your wisdom is to accept an unjust execution? And in doing so, you ensure the next generation picks up the fight. That's something for you to mull over.
Join us and keep your curiosity well fed. Who knows? The next video might be exactly what you didn't know you needed.